The buzz surrounding Jimmy Kimmel's show had reached a fever pitch as the legendary Clint Eastwood was announced as the evening's main guest. Known for his decades of iconic roles, fierce independence, and no-nonsense attitude, fans were eager to hear the actor-director share stories from his career. But what began as a nostalgic night turned quickly into one of the most intense and polarizing moments in late-night television history. As the opening applause faded and Eastwood took his seat, there was an unmistakable coolness in the air. Kimmel, clearly excited, cracked a few light-hearted jokes, but Eastwood's responses were short and clipped. His iconic squint seemed less playful and more foreboding. From the beginning, something just didn't feel right. Kimmel tried to guide the conversation toward Clint's early days in Hollywood, asking about the westerns and how he got into directing. Eastwood responded politely but without enthusiasm, occasionally glancing toward the cameras like he was checking the time. Then Kimmel brought up Clint's political comments from years past, joking, "You still talk to empty chairs? Or has Hollywood forgiven you?" A few audience members laughed, but Eastwood didn't. "I don't do things for forgiveness," he replied flatly. Kimmel tried to walk it back with a grin, but Eastwood leaned forward slightly. "You want to joke about that? Maybe try being original," he said. The audience tensed, unsure if this was part of the act or something real unfolding. Kimmel, unshaken, smiled wider, but that smile was no longer in sync with the room. The next exchange escalated things. Kimmel brought up recent controversies surrounding cancel culture and asked Clint if he thought his old-school mindset still had a place in today's Hollywood. "I don't operate on permission," Eastwood replied coldly. "If you want to dance for approval, you picked the wrong career." Kimmel chuckled nervously, trying to balance the mood, but added, "Well, a little self-awareness isn't a crime either." That was it. Eastwood's jaw clenched, and he shifted in his chair. "You want to lecture me?" he said, voice steady but sharp. "I've been doing this longer than you've been breathing jokes." The audience gasped. Kimmel opened his mouth to respond but paused. The tension was now unmistakable and thick enough to cut with a knife. Kimmel, not one to back down, tried to regain control of the situation. "We just try to have a little fun here, Clint," he said, keeping things light. But Eastwood wasn't amused. "Fun?" he echoed. "Mockery dressed up as wit." "I thought this was an interview, not a roast." The crowd didn't know whether to clap or stay quiet. Kimmel adjusted his tie, then said, "We celebrate people here, Clint. You've done a lot worth celebrating, but that doesn't mean you're off limits." That statement set Eastwood off. "Then maybe I'm on the wrong show," he snapped, standing up abruptly. Security at the side of the stage hesitated, unsure if this was real or scripted. Kimmel stood up too, clearly unsettled, and muttered, "Then maybe you are." What happened next became instant viral fuel. Eastwood stepped toward the edge of the stage, but before he could leave, a member of the crew tried to guide him toward the backstage area. Eastwood brushed him off, refusing to be handled. The situation was tense, unscripted, and raw. Kimmel, caught between professionalism and pride, made a sarcastic comment, "Someone get him his rocking chair." That remark was the final nail. Eastwood turned around and pointed a finger at Kimmel. "You think age is weakness? Try lasting half as long without selling out." With that, he walked off stage, and a producer quickly cut to a commercial. But the cameras had already caught enough. By the time the show returned, Eastwood was gone and Kimmel looked rattled. Within an hour, social media had exploded. Clips of the incident were everywhere. Some labeled Kimmel disrespectful, others called Eastwood too sensitive. Late night had stumbled into something more real than scripted comedy. Pundits debated whether this was the decline of civility or just two strong personalities colliding. Memes flooded Twitter and TikTok, Eastwood pointing, Kimmel's stunned face, and captions like "Kimmel got Clinted." Online forums filled with fans dissecting every word, body movement, and facial expression. Commentators, both comedic and political, weighed in. Some praised Eastwood's refusal to bend, while others mocked his inability to take a joke. Regardless of where one stood, the moment became a cultural storm. The next day, Kimmel addressed the incident in his opening monologue. "Well, that was something," he began. "Apparently, Clint Eastwood doesn't like my joke, and frankly, I'm still scared he might be waiting in my dressing room." The audience laughed, but the tone was different. He tried to explain his side, calling Eastwood a legend and saying the jokes were meant with respect. "It's a comedy show," he said, not a Senate hearing. Meanwhile, Eastwood's publicist released a concise statement. Clint Eastwood does not participate in mock interviews. He believes in meaningful conversation, not theatrical insult. That statement only deepened the divide, with media outlets picking sides and fans debating whether late-night shows had lost their authenticity. Several celebrities chimed in. Some supported Eastwood, praising his unwillingness to endure ridicule. Others backed Kimmel, arguing comedians have always poked at cultural figures. A few even joked they wouldn't appear on Kimmel unless Clint Eastwood promised not to show up. The entertainment world was divided. Late-night hosts like Fallon and Mayers made playful references to the event. Fallon joked, "I offered Clint a Hugo, he offered me a shovel." News channels replayed the clip with dramatic narration, as if it were a geopolitical incident. But under the satire lay a deeper conversation about boundaries in entertainment and generational views on respect, humor, and public discourse. For Eastwood, the moment seemed to mark a turning point. He reportedly cancelled several scheduled interviews and appearances. Sources close to him said he was done with the circuit, choosing instead to focus on his next directorial project in quiet isolation. Kimmel, meanwhile, faced pressure from both sides, those demanding an apology and those urging him to double down. Ratings for the episode spiked, and clips from it became the most watched segments in the show's recent history. But internally, Kimmel's team reviewed protocol, guest boundaries, and the blurry line between comedy and confrontation. Though the show moved forward, it was with a new level of caution in how far they pushed their jokes, especially with legends. Months later, in a reflective interview, Eastwood commented briefly on the clash. "I've dealt with gunslingers. A late-night host doesn't scare me," he said with a chuckle. He didn't elaborate further, nor did he express regret. Kimmel, in a podcast appearance, admitted, "That moment taught me something. Not everyone wants to be part of the joke." The event slowly faded from headlines but never truly left public memory. Fans still referenced it in comments and compilations of Late Night Gone Wrong. Ultimately, the moment was more than just a spat. It became a symbol of the growing divide between traditional respect and modern satire, between old Hollywood grit and today's performative charm. And in that sense, it wasn't just Clint who walked off, it was an era.